guys, welcome back to the RPMBassy. We are counting down our top 20 vinyl records. We are on currently number 13. I'll be starting off this one, and I'm going to be picking a classic. It's Rio by Duran Duran. I mean, this is a pretty obvious pick for a lot of people, isn't it? It's such a damn good album.
I was going to put that in my top 20, but I didn't.
I think the way that this album starts and finishes is really what kind of sets it off for me. The fact that you open with Rio, which is, you know, a stellar track, but finish with The Chauffeur, which is such a good way to bring the album to a close. And that, I would say, is probably my favourite Duran Duran track of all time, with The Chauffeur. I do like the sort of demo version, Blue Silver, with the acoustic guitar and stuff like that, but I really think this is just them at their kind of best. You know, everybody seems to be just on top of their game. The vocally, you know, Simon Le Bon is doing some amazing stuff on this. It's haunting in a way. A lot of his vocals, and then when you add like some of the kind of left field and really esoteric kind of synth lines and all that fretless bass that's all over the place. Yeah, it's just such a damn good album. It's hard to really say things that haven't been said about it before. You know, everybody's heard this album, but in a way, for me, I think it does kind of serve almost as like a greatest hits for them, because it's pretty much got everything that I love about them all on one album. You know, there's not a bad track on it. You know, you got Hungry Like the Wolf as well, which is
I mean, the thing about this album is, I mean, as an 11-year-old, I was obsessed with their first album, Dropped. Then they released a non-album single, which was My Own Way, which was like incredible. I love that track. Then this album came out, and then they released Is There Something Else You Know as a standalone single, which wasn't on the album. But the artwork, I mean, to me, that was so like, 1982 that came out?
Yes. Yeah,
so to me, this was 1982. Like, from the artwork, it's very new romantic, and the tracks, like every track could have been a single on the album. Really well produced. Yeah, I'm glad you chose that. I didn't have to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely need some rep for that album.
That's a good album. That's a good choice. I like that. So for mine, same kind of genre really. This band I absolutely loved. The album, this is quite a difficult one for me because I've quite a few of their albums, you know, things like Quiet Life and things, so obviously I give it away there. So it's Japan, and it's Tin Drum. This was really difficult for me to choose, but this was the album that had a lot of the big hits on it. This was the final studio album, even though it wasn't the final album they released, because after this they released things like All on Canvas, a live album, a few compilations, but this was the last album they released as a complete band, as Japan. Released in November 1981 on Virgin, and it peaked at number 12 in the charts. I remember buying this album, and I remember the singles. I think there's 4 singles released from this. There was Art of Parties, Vision of China, Ghost, and Cantonese Boy. And there was a theme kind of going through all this. It was a very kind of traditional instrumentation, you know, with Eastern influences on this album. And this made me want to go to these places and experience the food and experience you know, some of the stories that they were talking about in some of this. But the big single from this was Ghosts, and as an 11-year-old kid, that track used to frighten the life out of me. I'd never listen to it at night, because I used to put my headphones at night with a little record player next to the bed, and I'd listen to these albums while my mum thought I was sleeping, and I'd always skip Ghosts because it would frighten me and keep me up. That's quite a dark track, but now I love it. I love the whole album. You got things like Art of Parties, Ghost, Cantonese Boy, Still Life in Mobile Homes, which is a brilliant track. But I love the artwork as well. They were always on point when it comes to their kind of image. But after this album, the guitarist left, and David Sylvian then took on guitar duties on his album as well. And not long after this, he obviously released things like Forbidden Colours and a lot of his solo stuff. But this is, to me, it's just a good point in the early 80s. You could call it new romantic because it's a combination of synths and the traditional. They definitely look new romantic. The subject matter was very European, which I loved at the time. Things like Ultravox and things. So if you haven't heard this album, go and check this out. It's an amazing album. Oh, just in case I forgot, it's Japan Tin Drum. Thank you very much. Check out the next video, which will be number 12.